Welcome back to Restoring a Classic Mini, episode 14. You may remember from a previous episode that I sent the subframe off for cleaning. I've now got it back and it's looking really good. In episode 15 I'm replacing the toe board and use my subframe to help align everything up. The video doesn't go into too much detail about fitting the front subframe, so I thought before I upload episode 15 I'll do a short video on just how I fitted it. I've so little experience, so I may have made a few mistakes, but I thought it might be useful for anyone who wants to see how it fits together without it being obscured by the engine or oil and dirt, and may help those who just want to replace one of the parts and can't quite see what they're doing, but can now see where the parts are from this video and how they fit on. Just bear in mind though that I've only fitted this loosely and temporary, just to help align the toe board I'm replacing in the next episode, so everything isn't tightened up fully yet. I ordered everything that I needed from Minisport. I've also gone for rubber rather than poly or solid, but just because that's how it was when I bought it. I sent a quick email to Minisport to see what parts I needed and they sent me this bag of goodies, apart from the tower bolts, as the ones that I had were okay to use. For those who are new to this, including myself, these are the parts that I needed to fit the front subframe, and I'll show where everything fits as the video progresses. A pair of tower bolts, a washer for each of the tower bolts, a round rubber that fits around the tower bolt and an oval rubber that sits on top of the subframe, the brackets that pass through the toe board that holds the rubber subframe mounts, the rubber subframe mounts themselves, bolts to hold the subframe mounts to the subframe, pair drop mounts for the front of the subframe, bolts to secure the pair drop mounts to the car, bolts to secure the subframe to the car itself, and packing shims if there's a gap between the subframe and the car where it all bolts together. So first of all I fixed the pair drop mounts to the car. The hole for the bolts was covered with rubber, so I removed that with a sharp knife. Then using the correct bolts I fastened the mounts to the car. There's a locating lug on the mount, so installation was really easy. There's 2 in total, so I repeated the process at the opposite side. When it comes to fitting the front, I'll be using these bolts which pass through here, through the pair drop mount, and any gaps can be taken up with a shim. This is how they will fit to the subframe when they're on the car. The oval rubbers sit on top of the subframe, one for each side, and locate at this hole which is fastened securely by the tower bolts. And to protect the top side there's also a rubber to be fitted. The rear of the front subframe is held by a mount which is held by a pair of brackets that sit in the toe board. The mounts fasten to the studs on the bracket and bolts hold the mount to the subframe. Then it's simply a case of lifting the subframe into position and fastening everything together, which we can see next. The washer fits to the tower bolt, then the rubber slides on. Working on my own, I managed to lift the subframe into position and hand screw in the tower bolts to hold it in place. To fix the front it was just a case of sending the bolt through and adding the nuts and washers. I tightened up the tower bolts a bit more to help align the rear mounts. As mentioned earlier, the mounts are held on by the brackets poking through the toe board, and then the mount can be bolted to the subframe. and that's more or less it. There's obviously some fine tuning involved and the shims can be added if there's gaps, but the whole process is actually fairly straightforward, although I'm guessing it's a bit harder when the car is fully built. But hopefully the video is of some help to someone, and I'll probably end up having to watch it back to remember where everything goes myself. Prior to making the videos on YouTube, I worked as a firefighter for nearly 20 years, serving my community and helping to save lives and promote the fire safety message. Unfortunately, an accumulation of many upsetting scenes became too much for my mind to cope with, and after years of failed therapy I was retired from the service on the grounds of ill health and signed off medically from any employment. To keep myself busy, both body and mind, I developed an interest in woodworking and car mechanics, and with already having a hobby in filming and music, I combined my interests and started making videos here on YouTube, filming, editing and composing my own music for my woodworking and car restoration channels Smugwood and Smugwood Mini. Unfortunately, to produce such videos comes at a price, and with minimal funds after being retired from employment, I've turned to Patreon to see if there is additional support out there which could allow me to continue making the woodworking and car restoration videos. In return for support, there are various levels which are explained in more depth at the Patreon link below, but includes the chance to win one of my YouTube projects made throughout the year, and also inclusion into random prize draws open to patrons only. In addition, I'd like to thank everybody who already subscribes to my channels, or watches, comments, likes and shares them, as it all goes to help support my channels, and for that I'm really appreciative. It's my hope that I can continue making the videos for the foreseeable future. Thanks once again for your continued support.